Hello, Sarthak parents. Very, very good day, good evening, good morning, whatever time it is for you. We had a consultation the other day, but there were some inputs that I really wanted to share, but because of lack of time, we were not able to do it. And I had requested you for another booking, another consultation, but I know my next few days are going to be really tight. So I thought, let me just do it like over a video and share my inputs for the time being so that when we meet next you might have already begun to apply a few suggestions and recommendations. And since you're also meeting the neurologist soon, so it'll be nice if we do this conversation right here. And sending things on a report is easier when I've already done the sharing of my inputs. So I'll try my best to keep it really short, but then it might take some time. So bear with me and do meet me for the next meeting so that I can cover up for whatever is left. There are some crucial inputs that I really want to share with you, but in a phased manner, in a step by step manner. So ideally, I would want that we have approximately 7 to 8 meetings spaced out for say a week or 10 days के gap में, so that you get to apply some of the things in baby steps, right? So this is regarding Sarthak Kapoor, who's 14 years old and who's on the autism spectrum. He lives in the US. He has a younger brother who's a neurotypical young man. And the major concerns that you came up with were anger issues and aggression that seem to have flared up, considering the adolescence maybe, and maybe some other factors, but which includes pinching and biting as well at times. But a sudden change that you have noticed in the last 10 days is that he has pretty much stopped eating anything, right? So that's these are two major concerns. And based on parents' inputs in this one consultation, he seems to be mostly communicating through non-verbal communication through gestures, and he does say a few words here and there, I think. But mostly it is non-verbal communication through gestures, and there are a few things that seem to trigger the anger, the aggression, the difficult, challenging behaviors that we are seeing right now. One factor could be that he has a lot of cold drinks. So there are aerated drinks in his diet, and he's eating junk food, especially since the last 10 days. But otherwise, also, he does eat burgers and paneer, butter masala, and pizza, which is non-home cooked meat otherwise meals. Otherwise, he also enjoys his tiffin meals, so paneer sabzi, rice, bread, omelette, and so on. For his sleep, he is sleeping for 8 to 9 hours, but the cycle varies from time to times, and he's on melatonin for the last many years. 3 milligram daily he's taking. Apart from this, he's also on a couple of more medicines for his hyperexcitability. He is not toilet trained and he's using diapers as of now. He was not toilet trained in his childhood at the age of 2 to 3 years when those neural pathways develop because of some infrastructural limitations that the parents had to go through. And then later also, they were not able to help him wean off his diapers because of the school infrastructure and the school limitations that they went to, which is now reflected as him being dependent on the diapers, and it is now very difficult for the parents to wean him off diapers, and so he's not been able to get toilet trained. And his screen time is approximately 4 to 5 hours daily, including TV and mobile, and it gets more on weekends. His weekends are not occupied and not very productive, and hence the screen time increases. And since he was 3 4 years old, he had this habit of rubbing his private parts. He lies down in a prone position, and then he seeks self gratification, which was of sensory origin when he was a little child, and could be his sensory needs and his needs of adolescence, are the urges that he's getting now are it could be a mixture, it could be both, it could be either. So he does the same by rubbing himself in the same way. However, recently he has begun to show some understanding of concept of privacy, as he tries to do it in his room mostly, but then sometimes it happens in the drawing room also. So he is beginning to understand those boundaries to some extent, and he has not been taught to self regulate. So that area is still blurred for him. So some suggestions that come straight away like this are for you are: number one, firstly, because of the age, because of the huge amount of hormonal changes, which I'll share a tutorial for, and you'll be able to understand what he's going through because of his adolescence. What are the internal changes that he's going through? What are the social changes that he's going through? And how you can teach him to adapt to those changes in more appropriate ways, which are considered as socially appropriate. So I'll share a tutorials especially related to his adolescence, the aspects of adolescence and how to deal with them. It's it's like a set of 3 to 4 videos of, it's approximately 4 hours. So you can go through that, and it'll be like a very very helpful way to understand how to help him in better ways. So the first suggestion that comes right away, um, as a professional, to me, is he needs to have a heavy workout schedule. So in one in the morning and one in the evening, we have to find a trainer, a sports trainer, till you find a place. So the parents really wanted to find a residential setup for Sarthak, for which they had reached out to us, and we are in the process of sharing. I am in the process of sharing all the references that I have. I've already mentioned one in Noida, which is Nirantar Prayas, but then I'll also look for places in the US. So I'm on it, and I'll share. So the first thing that comes right away is he should have a heavy workout um, plan with a trainer, with a sports coach or a trainer who comes home, takes him out in the morning, and if it starts small, no worries. If you think he'll not be able to do a 1 hour workout in the morning and 1 hour workout in the evening, like jogging, cycling, swimming, skating, those are the things that need to be incorporated in those workout schedules. So if it doesn't start with 1 hour, it can start with 5 minutes or 10 minutes. That's small. So building a rapport with the trainer, and then going out with the trainer, and then accepting his instructions and his authority and his company for doing things that are going to work wonders for his brain, um, is what we need to work on. That is the first thing that has to be done. And it'll have a set of exercises, including midline crossing exercises, bilateral integration, and the most of the sports coaches are very well aware of what are the special needs of a person who is on the autism spectrum, and how a person can feel very very regulated through an intensive workout session, say of 30 minutes, 40 minutes, gradually increasing up to 1 hour. So they are aware, but then we can also share a plan. No worries. Now, so that's the first thing, with a trainer, with a sports trainer. The second, that will bring phenomenal regulation for Sarthak, will be very, very helpful. The second thing will be to create a small window of co-regulation with the parent, with one parent. Because see, movement is his thing. uh, Sitting and doing things is not his thing. He would rather move around, jump, run, go here and there, explore. So, because of the hyper excitability, and it will be wonderful if one parent or both the parents can take turns and create a plan for walks. So, a morning walk and an evening walk will be fantastic for Sarthak, uh, with one parent. and it will basically be shared time with shared interests. So what he likes to do is moving is one of the things that he likes to do. So moving. So going for long walks, going for short walks, going for a walk to buy something that he really wants to do needs to be incorporated in his planner and schedule. That will help us in two things. First is walking in itself is a very good regulator. If walking is combined with music, great, fantastic. If walking is combined with anything that he enjoys, maybe munching, maybe talking, maybe that you know best. But that will be a shared time and shared interest with one parent. So we want co-regulation. He understands that this is my partner. Whenever I feel anxious or upset about something or irritable, this partner is there to help me regulate back, reset back. So, similarly, with one parent, more time and more shared interests, maybe, for example, cooking. If he enjoys eating food that he enjoys eating, he can perhaps be involved in cooking the same thing. So, cooking yummy things that he enjoys together. Shared time and shared interest key, is the key to helping any human being who is feeling disconnected and dysregulated. So, yes. Now, coming to the junk food. So, we need to structure it. How do we structure junk food? We will not want to stop it suddenly. We don't want to make any big changes all of a sudden, but we definitely want to minimize the chemicals and the bad stuff that he's consuming through that junk food. We want to minimize it at all costs. And so, what we need to do is we want to keep increasing the natural homemade food and keep decreasing the junk food in baby steps. We want to replace the junk with the home food in baby steps, really small, so that it is not clearly obvious and it should not disturb him. Maybe you could introduce some small rules that everybody follows through. Small rules that are not very obvious and don't sound like अब से ऐसा ही होगा, not like that. Very subtle. You introduce them very subtly. So, like if you had junk food throughout the day, you could possibly create just two windows during which now the junk food is served, offered, or even available in the fridge, and then gradually bring it down to just one time when everybody comes back from office or when it is packed in some for a morning snack or something. So junk food takes a place gradually. If it is all over the day, you reduce it in terms of time, in time windows. Similarly, so if you reduce the frequency when it is served, you also reduce the duration for which it is served, which means quantity basically. So if we were eating two burgers, we could come down to one burger, and by not saying one ही दूंगी ऐसा नहीं, just we have one and it is over, finished. So we reduce the quantity of what we order or what we buy. Similarly, we even reduce it down to gradually like one item, and then we bring it down to we associate it with some specific things. We structure it like that. We eat it when Papa is with us, or we eat it as soon as we come back from our evening jog or evening walk, something like that. So we associate it with very specific things, and so the need or the craving that used to happen throughout the day, gradually the mind conditions itself to realize that, oh, after we finish the yoga session, we always have something, uh, some junk. So the quantity goes down, the frequency goes down, it gets associated with specific things, and so the intensity and the duration and the quantity automatically comes down, right? Then similarly, we also need to associate all the non-preferred things like homemade food or home or non-preferred tasks and activities that we want him to do but he doesn't want to do, with some wonderful things. For example, if I want him to be involved in cooking food with me, I would want to cook food that he really enjoys. He associates cooking with yummy food. So he begins to associate every time we cook food, we have this yummy thing to eat. Similarly, if we when we cook food or we do a chore, we listen to our favorite song or music. So we need to associate. Association works wonders. Then structuring the screen time. Similarly, we need to structure the screen time. So we need to increase the preferred activities and decrease the non-preferred activities in a very slow phase manner. And for that, we'll have to meet again. You know? And for teaching him the concept of privacy, you mentioned. So you use the social stories that we have. They are all over the place on our social media platforms. We're going to share the channel with you. Please go ahead, use the social stories. But how to use a social story, there's a tutorial for that. Because if you start using social stories and your child is not listening to you, is not looking at the social story, then it becomes a demotivation for the parent. So do go through the tutorial of how to use the social story. When do you use it? How do you use it? How do you customize it? It's a very short and lovely tutorial. Go through that. Then for teaching him to self regulate. This is a skill that we want him to know, want him to learn, want him to go through through you, maybe. So you learn how emotional self-regulation is done. And we have an amazing method called the zones of regulation, and it's done in the US schools. The US schools are using it, so you might as well be aware. I'm sure you're not using it thoroughly, otherwise you would have known how magically beautiful it is. So it simply makes everything very concrete and visual and very simple. Because telling your child, look Sarthak, when you hit me or when you pinch me, it is not a good thing to do, you should not do it. uh, uh, that that is very difficult for a person on the spectrum to imagine how somebody might be feeling, because social imagination is definitely compromised. And similarly, it is very difficult for him to imagine what is irritable, what is overwhelmed, what is anxious. So when you're anxious, you can do this. It's way better to use a concrete visual method to teach him. And for that method, I invite you to do this small course. It's a lovely small course, the emotional regulation course. Please do that. It is specifically for adolescents and it is totally online. Now, when you visit the neurologist, I want you to ask him at least two things, which I'm going to mention in the report also. One is you need to double check with him for regarding the sudden loss of appetite, the sudden increase. If not loss in appetite, then there has been a sudden increase in his pickiness of eating, right? So he's suddenly stopped eating home food, and suddenly he's craving for the junk food. So you need to double check with, is it is it pathological in any way, and what could perhaps be done to help him through this. He could also go through some more history to double check for the GI things. I can also refer you to a gastroenterologist, um, an autism aware gastroenterologist. He will be happy to help you in this. The second thing I want you to ask him is, see, he is on some medication for hyperexcitability, right? Similarly, he also takes melatonin for his sleep, and that seems to suit him well because he's sleeping for 8 to 9 hours. And there is no denying the fact that many of his sleep problems and a lot of his hyperexcitability must be stemming from the screen exposure. So everything will gradually start falling in place once his screen time will come down. But do ask him if a medicine like risperidone will help him to regulate his neurons. So, or is the doc planning to change his, like you mentioned that it is not helping him. The medication is not helping him enough to be able to be an obvious improvement in his regulation, in his ability to stay regulated and calm. So you could perhaps ask the doctor if he's planning to change the medicines, and would he like to, is he considering risperidone, and or for that matter, would he titrate the dosage to see if there are any significant effects, right? Then coming back to his day, um, we need to make his weekends really packed with activities that he enjoys and loves. And we need to add a lot of auditory integration. So, auditory needs to be increased and visual needs to decrease in a very gradual, phasic manner. through baby steps. So auditory integration is going to be very, very powerful for Sarthak. But again, it will have to be very gradual. Visual will go down and auditory will go up. And similarly, from surround sounds, we want to bring him to headphones. Again, it'll happen very slowly. Maybe he's not even using headphones. Maybe he doesn't even know how to use it. And so we'll have to start with count of one and remove it. So that we'll have to start from there. If he will take time to accept a headphone, otherwise many headphones can break initially, and you'll have to buy headphones that are really economical, so that if a few break, gradually you condition him to start using headphones and auditory integration with specific therapeutic music uh, will be a powerful way to calm down his neurons and to help him redirect his focus every time it is distracted. It is, he's feeling anxious, aggressive, irritable, overwhelmed, and he wants to vent out his anger through things that are considered as inappropriate, and we want him to feel more calm and relaxed. So basically what we want to do is we want to increase all the windows where he's feeling calmer, where he's feeling regulated, and we want to keep decreasing the windows where he's feeling anxious and irritable. So again, the calm zones need to be increased and the upset zones need to be decreased throughout the day, and that will happen very gradually, right? So from similarly for toilet training, so for the toilet training, the first step that we can do is to let him know that going to the toilet and doing your job there is going to fetch you something amazing. Now what that amazing thing is going to be, we need to figure that out. You need to figure that out. Like for every pee job in the washroom, you get he loves Coke. So since Coke is available only in big cans and bottles, we don't want to introduce anything that has to do with consuming an aerated drink. So I wish we had some shots, so we could get a Coke shot. If you could probably get something there. So for every pee job in the washroom, you get a Coke shot, and for every big job in the washroom, you get a 50 ml Coke, if that is available, or anything else that you feel is possible, anything else that works as a reinforcement for him and that works as a wow award for him. You'll have to think of those things. So it has to be an exclusive reinforcement, so we don't get Coke shots anywhere, we don't get Coke anywhere else. Of course, if you go out, you won't be able to stop him from seeing that there is Coke there. So you'll have to think of situations where you don't go to a place where Coke is easily visible and available. Some lifestyle changes will have to be made, but if you realize that Coke is poison, if you realize that any aerated drink for that matter is poison for a child who is already struggling with focus difficulties, ability to comply, compliance is a struggle, following instructions, participation, and doing things that are considered as appropriate, ability to manage his urges is difficult, then Coke is something that should be and definitely should be avoided. Similarly, sugar. So if you structure the Coke as well and put it down to reinforcements, or for that matter, if you structure Coke in such a way that gradually the Coke keeps going down and a homemade drink keeps coming up again in a very gradual, phasic manner, then we'll be able to manage the Coke issue as well. And we'll have to think of an exclusive reinforcement for the toilet training. So the first step should be only that why should I use the washroom when I'm already having already doing my stuff in a diaper? Why do I need to go to the washroom? So that answers that question. You have to find something that pretty much answers that question. Oh, every time I go and pee there, I get this. And what is that? You need to figure that out. Similarly, every time I'm doing a big job, it will take time. It will not happen suddenly. It will not, firstly, going to the washroom and trying to do pee will not happen. But if you try it consistently, if you work on it consistently through a tutorial that I'm going to share with you, you might be able to work around that. So exclusive reinforcement for that toileting. And the first step is answer the question, why should I go to the washroom to do this job when I'm already doing it in my diaper? Because I get this. That's it. First, start with that step. Then similarly, whenever he is having an episode which is called a meltdown maybe, or a tantrum, or a control battle, when you're having a control battle, firstly we need to minimize control battles. We need to create situations where we don't get into a trap of getting into a control battle, because it becomes a vicious cycle and we don't want to do that. So Sarthak should be in a situation where, if at all he gets upset, irritable, anxious, angry, we have to not be a part of it. So we don't say or do anything when that happens. We just let it pass. We try to keep him and the others safe. Obviously, that is the first thing, safety. And we don't give any big reactions. I'm sure you know that. You already know that. So no big reactions, nothing happens. We let it pass. We try to keep him safe, the others safe. Don't let him show that you're trying to find what he needs. Oh my god, he needs a coke, I have to find coke, bhaiya coke leke. No, no such reactions, no such reactions. Keep it simple, keep it cool, let it pass, it will pass. But we want to make sure that we don't get into those situations. How do we do that? We need to talk about it in the second meeting. So, but when he is in the green zone, when he is regulated, when he is calm, when he is listening, coming to you, sitting with you, when you're sharing some good times together, that is the time, that is your golden opportunity to teach him how to regulate himself. That is the time when you want to use a social story, when you want to introduce a fidget, a nice, happy fidget that gives him happiness, which is not screen. That is the time when you want to introduce headphones. First, you model the headphones, you have a good time for a few days or maybe weeks, if it takes, doesn't matter. But if you are modeling for him, sharing time of happy stuff that is happening, that he enjoys, introducing fidgets and activities that he would love to do, which are non-screen activities. So there are, water squeeze games. I'm sure you know about them. So when you squeeze some buttons, water squishes out, and there is so much happening inside that little tab like thing. There are rings coming out. So it's just water. And it's fantastic. It gives a lot of joy to people who enjoy visuals through the screen. But then screen is very addicting, highly addicting. The amount of dopamine that is released in the brain when a child is looking at a screen is not at all comparable to any other joy that we can bring him. So that will have to be matched, but then it'll happen very slowly, very gradually. So that kind of addiction will it will be difficult to match activities that give so much happiness, so much joy, so much dopamine to the brain that a screen gives. But there are alternatives, and we need to work on them. So so when he's in the green zone, when he's in a happy place, even if it's a very small window, we know as a target that we have to keep increasing the green zones, we have to keep decreasing the yellow and the red zones. Yellow means anxious, irritable, overwhelmed, and red means really angry, full fledged meltdown or anger outburst. So we want to keep increasing the green windows, keep increasing their frequency, keep increasing their duration, keep increasing their intensity. We want to keep decreasing the frequency, duration, and intensity of the yellow and the red zones, right? So, whenever the child is in a green zone, we want to make the best of it. We want to share the best times together. We want to help him to associate that time with the most wonderful things that come to him automatically. Like for example, you keep a show ready. That's a TV show that he really enjoys. Every time he's in a good mood, we'll put that TV show. Again, that's a screen. We can try to avoid it, but then initially, when you want him to realize that when I am happy and connected, I do get the best stuff, like these fidget toys, like these amazing things to have, to play with, to do with mama or with papa, that is going to be an association that his brain will learn very fast, very fast. Similarly, keep increasing home food, keep reducing junk food. The chemicals need to be absolutely removed from his diet gradually. And in the next meeting, we are going to, there are 3 or 4 major things that I want to talk to you about. First is related to auditory integration. We need to work on his auditory integration, and I can help you with some therapeutic music and specific strategies for increasing his calmness. Similarly, the structuring the screen time, we'll do that in the second meeting. And for his food, the changes that we need to incorporate in his food and diet so that his calmness increases. And I request you and I insist you join the emotional regulation course. And like I said, I'm going to share some tutorials about adolescence, about toilet training, and about how do we build a better connect and trust with our child, right? So thank you so much, Sarthak parents. Thanks a lot, and I hope this helps.